Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a truly fascinating intersection of disciplines that you might not expect. On the surface, mathematics and visual design feel like entirely different species. One deals in rigid formulas, right? And the other is all about aesthetics and user experience. But what if I told you that the absolute best way to understand complex math is to actually approach it as a design challenge? Today, we're exploring the brilliant insights of Grant Sanderson. He's the creator behind the massively popular channel 3 Blue 1 Brown, and we're going to see how treating math like a visual design problem can completely transform how we learn and explain the world around us.
Okay, let's dive into this. Grant Sanderson puts it perfectly with this quote. It really captures the shared struggle here. Because whether you're laying out a user interface for an app or trying to unravel some dense mathematical theorem, your ultimate goal is exactly the same. You're trying to find a clear path through an overwhelming amount of complexity. So today we're going to use 3 core design principles to basically cut through that noise. We're going to use them to demystify one of the most notoriously intimidating math equations out there, and you'll see firsthand how good design can make the totally incomprehensible feel completely intuitive.
Section 1. Math meets visual design. All right, so to understand the famous equation involving Euler's number, I, and pi, we can't just stare at a jumble of abstract symbols on a page. We really need to treat them as characters in a story. So let's meet our cast. First up, pi. For our visual story here, I want you to keep your focus strictly on what it visually represents in 2-dimensional space. Imagine a unit circle. That's just a circle with a radius of exactly 1. Pi is simply the distance you travel when you walk exactly halfway around that circle. Keep that super clear visual in your mind.
Enter character number 2, the imaginary constant, I. Now, I totally get it. The word imaginary sounds incredibly mysterious, maybe even a little bit woo-woo, but please don't let the name fool you. Its entire reason for existence, its one singular job in our story, is just to act as a command. When you multiply something by I, it simply tells whatever it's attached to rotate by exactly 90 degrees in a 2D plane. That is literally it. It's just a visual rotation tool.
And rounding out our cast is Euler's number, E. You can think of E as the ultimate engine of an unstoppable positive feedback loop. It's the base of exponential growth. Visually speaking, it describes a function where its rate of change, or its speed, is always perfectly locked to equal its current position. So the bigger something gets, the faster it grows. It is quite literally a runaway train of mathematical momentum.
Which brings us to our very first design principle of explaining math. You have to ask, what does it look like? You can't just present the symbols, you have to treat the whole thing as a visual design challenge. Trying to read an equation without visualizing it is basically like sitting in a silent room trying to read sheet music. Asking, what does it look like, is how you actually get to listen to the song.
Section 2. Giving your characters motivation. But here's the thing. Simply visualizing what an equation equals isn't quite enough to give us that really satisfying aha moment. We don't just need to know what happens, we need to know the why. So the crucial point here is the massive difference between a dry mathematical proof and actual true motivation. A proof is mechanical. It focuses step by step on why a statement is factually true. But motivation? That gives the math a sense of inevitability. It focuses on why it actually wants to be true. Let's see how this plays out in our visual story.
Let's paint a mental picture here. Imagine a little point moving along a perfectly straight line, where that movement represents time and position. It's being driven by that exponential growth engine of E that we just talked about, meaning this point's velocity vector is completely locked to its position. As it moves further down the line, it gets faster, which pushes it even further, which makes it even faster. So it's just moving straight ahead, accelerating infinitely.
But watch what happens when we drop our imaginary character I into the mix. Remember, I is a command to rotate 90 degrees. Suddenly, that velocity vector isn't pulling our point straight forward anymore. It's constantly pulling it at a 90-degree angle. This yanks the movement completely off that flat 1D line and out into a 2D plane, forcing the point to move in a perfectly continuous curve. It traces out a perfect circle.
And this brilliantly illustrates the climax of our equation. If our point is moving around this circle at a rate of 1 unit per second, and we let time run forward for exactly pi seconds, keeping in mind that pi is the distance exactly halfway around a unit circle, where does it land? It traces a half circle and lands absolutely perfectly, dead center on -1. It's almost magical. But it doesn't land there by some chaotic coincidence. It lands there because, based entirely on the pure motivations of E, I, and pi, it absolutely had to.
And Knott beautifully locks in principle number 2. Give your characters a clearly defined motivation and reason for existence. Just like reading a good novel, a great explanation doesn't just show you that e to the power of I times pi equals -1. It shows you the unique personality of every single component, so that when they finally interact, the conclusion feels entirely satisfying and totally inevitable.
Section 3. The surprising Escher connection.
So, now that we've mastered the micro side of things, let's step into a strange, beautifully warped art gallery to see how this exact same math manipulates visual space on a macro level. M.C. Escher is famous for his mind-bending artwork, right? Take his piece, Print Gallery. In it, you've got a man looking at a picture of a boat, but the picture of the boat contains a town, and in that town is the very same gallery where the man is standing looking at the boat. It's this deeply nested, paradoxical loop that Escher actually drew entirely through his own intuitive, tactile genius.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how mathematicians later analyzed this masterpiece. About 50 years after Escher created it, mathematicians Desmet and Lenz fully decoded his intuitive genius. They realized that they could treat complex math functions, like the exact exponential growth we literally just learned about, as a new kind of paintbrush to twist and manipulate 2D space in incredibly precise ways.
They walked through this incredible 3-step visual manipulation process to perfectly recreate Escher's paradoxical loop. Step 1. They used logarithms, which is basically the reverse of our exponential growth, to unwrap the circular, repeating patterns of the image into straight tile-like lines. Step 2. They carefully rotated this straightened-out image. And step 3. They exponentiated it, applying that e function to wrap those straight lines back up into a flawless, continuous, mind-bending spiral that perfectly connects the inner world of the picture to the outer world of the gallery. No way, right? It's brilliant.
And that leads us right to our third and final principle. The most memorable application is the most surprising one. Sure, this math is fundamentally crucial for things like quantum physics and signal processing, but applying imaginary exponentials to decode and animate a paradoxical artistic masterpiece, that kind of surprising visual manipulation of space is going to burn the concept into your brain forever.
Section 4. We are all explainers. As we wrap up today, I want to transition our focus from the genius of Escher back to you and your own daily life and professional challenges. Let's rapidly summarize the 3 key principles we've extracted. First, always treat complex topics as visual design challenges. Ask what it looks like. Second, ensure every component or character in your explanation has clear motivation. And third, use surprising applications to make the information truly memorable. Because at its core, all design is an active explanation, and all explanation requires good design. Whether you are formerly a teacher, a manager, a designer, or honestly just someone sharing a cool idea with a friend, you are an explainer. You have the power to make the complex completely intuitive. So I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Take a hard look at your own daily communications. What are your own principles around teaching? And how can you use the visual tools of design to unlock understanding for the people around you? Thank you so much for exploring this with us on This Explainer, and I'll catch you next time.